A new campaign launched to time with Sexual Assault Prevention Month is asking women in Ontario to hang their bras outside of municipal buildings. This comes as a response to allegations of sexual harassment by former staff against Ottawa City Councillor Rick Shirelli. Some of those allegations include Shirelli asking employees to go braless. Erin Leigh is the executive director of the Ottawa Coalition to End Violence Against Women. She's also one of the organizers of this campaign. Erin, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Erin, this campaign, it's set for Thursday. Tell us a little bit about what you're asking people to do.
We really want for the general public to think about how they can play a role in pushing for change so that we can remove sexual predators from public office at the municipal level. In particular, we're entering into a campaign season for the Ontario provincial government, and what regulates and oversees the role of councillors and the consequences and accountability structure is a provincial level legislation. So we want people to ask candidates in their communities, what are you going to do about this issue?
And to highlight that, asking people to put bras on municipal buildings on Thursday across Ontario. I wonder, on one level, this is about accountability, of course, but talk to me about the aspect of safety. How safe does the political space feel for the women in your circles, given everything that's been going on?
I mean, sexual violence is something that we see in all spheres of society, but certainly in Ottawa, we saw it very plainly with Rick Shirelli and the Integrity Commissioner finding against him in terms of sexual harassment against not only staff, but also candidates. And that puts an incredible chill in terms of people wanting to engage in municipal politics, not just as a staff person, but also even running for office. If there is a framework where somebody like this is allowed to maintain office, that's really problematic. I think the other thing is that it's not a bad apple. It's not a one-off thing. We've heard situations about municipal councillors committing sexual violence or harassment in London, Ottawa, obviously Hamilton, Brampton, Barrie, Durham, and Mississauga. So it's happening across the province. This is not an Ottawa-only issue.
And yet right now, the most severe penalty for a councillor who behaves egregiously is a suspension of pay. They still get to keep their job. MPP Stephen Leigh, he had proposed Bill 10. That would have allowed a removal from office for those councillors. But with the legislature dissolved, that bill is going to die. Why do you think it's been so difficult to strengthen that kind of legislation?
I mean, the provincial government had done a consultation on this, so I'm really not sure why it didn't advance further than it did, beyond plain politics in this context. And honestly, violence against women and gender-based violence is not a partisan issue. You won't go to any party where they say this is okay. So it is a bit it's very disappointing that it won't go forward and that something won't have gone forward during this legislature. That being said, I think one of the issues in this context is that there's a lot of fear that there might be frivolous accusations made against councillors, and you don't want to just remove somebody because of a frivolous accusation, and that's fair. But at the same time, this is not meant to be something that's decided by other councillors that may have an agenda. It is supposed to go, in the case of Bill 10, it was a proposal to go to a judge to look at the issue. And also less than 4% of people that report sexual violence are actually not telling the truth. It's survivors, when they come forward, it's not for gain. They're not making money. They're not, all of a sudden getting their 15 minutes of fame. It's an incredibly difficult thing to do. And the main motivation is to protect other women from being subjected to the same form of violence.
There were two Integrity Commissioner reports that found Councillor Rick Shirelli committed, quote, incomprehensible incidents of harassment, end quote. And yet he's back on the payroll. What kind of message do you think that sends?
I mean, I think that everybody is aware of the constraints, but at the same time, it is absolutely baffling that with the mountains of evidence and the findings of the Integrity Commissioner, that this could still be the case. When you look at the Municipal Act and somebody can be held to account for, financial discrepancies, it's like, well, do we care more about money or people? And obviously we want to hold people to account for different things, but it is egregious violence, and it's unacceptable that there isn't something that allows for a termination.
I wonder, the campaign, you're asking people to do this on Thursday. We saw bras hanging from City Hall as far back as 2019 as a form of protest. And at that time, there was some pushback from security guards who didn't fully understand that that was a form of protest. Ultimately, city staff intervened. They let it happen. How smoothly do you think that this campaign on Thursday is going to go, seeing as it's across Ontario?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly hope that it will be something that is a visual, eye-catching thing that will make people really stop and think about what these issues are. We hope things will stay up. We think in Ottawa that will be the case because it is more on people's radar. But we don't know what to anticipate elsewhere. But I think it's an important visual, and that it really came organically from the community who really wanted to show solidarity with survivors.
Erin, Leigh, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us about your campaign today.
Thank you so much.
Erin, Leigh is the Executive Director of the Ottawa Coalition to End Violence Against Women.